So let's get started again. First of all, Ronnie, thank you for lunch. Let's all of us recognize Blount for the wonderful. So, let's sort of shift into sort of more action oriented. We've had some good discussion around, and some of the ideas are potentially beginning to sort of brew in the challenges we discussed here. But I want you to sort of think about the levels of the system that you want to impact as we're talking about this. And
I'm not sure what you said.
Oh, was I talking to Siri? Was I talking to Siri? Think about the levels that you want to impact. You know, sort of is this, you know, sort of, do we want a community-wide strategy? Schools strategies? Are we looking at the sort of deeper end, opioid treatment, reduce the death rates, all of the above? Let's think about sort of how we then, if it's all of the above, then we've got to have a few projects in the middle that are addressing different levels, right? So where's...
Can I bring up one more challenge before we...
Oh yeah, please. I got room.
Because one is too many meetings of too many groups, and we need to consolidate. Because I have a business to run.
Well, how do you do that? How would you...
I don't know, that's one discussion that I think we could do around the table.
So what are the meetings? So too many, when you say too many meetings and too many groups around this topic,
Yep.
in Fall River,
Yeah.
not in Taunton, not in Fall River. What are they?
We have different groups that have
Yeah, but
been formed.
just let me
Yeah,
sort of get
somebody wants to know what they are.
So
Yeah.
we have
The Substance Abuse Task Force, that's
yeah,
partners.
the Substance Abuse Task Force.
And we have the Bold Coalition.
I
And
have
Mike
the
has the opioid
task force.
task force.
Then we have Chenal.
Well, River
And then
Recovery.
we have Carol,
Well, River.
provider to provider.
Because she's not tested.
I got three.
Provider to
Yeah.
provider, because we were in that.
Provider to provider, what's that?
It's a group of this, almost the same people that are here, where we met to get all the providers into the same room. And everybody could sit around and exchange ideas and information about what their position was and what their focus was within the city.
So the
Didn't
beginning
you
of-
break into 4 groups then?
Yeah, and then it was education, prevention, outreach,
And treatment.
and treatment.
Yeah. And there was groups of people assigned to each one, and they were supposed to meet independently.
Mhm.
But there's not going to be any more.
Okay.
We had, what, about 4 meetings?
No,
We have a community coalition meeting.
It was 4 meetings.
Coalition.
Yep, Recover Fall River. It's called Recover Fall River.
Yeah.
No, none of the meeting spaces have the technology for people to Skype in, right?
Yeah, we can put a star, but if we can't on the other end, then it's no good. But anyway, there's just too many. So that's a challenge.
We do a lot of discussion of what needs to be done, but I don't know if we're actually doing.
I'm not gonna write that one down.
Yeah.
I ran out of room in part, but discussion of what needs to be done, but not so much doing it.
Some of us do.
Some,
I mean,
Right,
yeah,
sounds
sort of
like-
independent, but I mean, as a groups, when we come together and say, you know, like again, independently, people are doing their thing, but as a whole, you know, group or city or whatever, we're
That
independent.
kind of sharing venues
Yeah.
too. It's a venue to share what it is you do.
You have to divide and conquer a little bit.
It's
Right.
always you doing something.
so say more about that.
your work groups, or into your groups.
Say more about what do you mean by divide and conquer.
Oh, like anything, you know, you take care of this, I'll take care of that, you know, then you can report back in, you know, in terms of, okay, what's going, like, I would look to Marsha and Michelle and say what's going on in the schools, because that's where they sort of work out of it.
And is the report back in happening in these?
I think that's what I mean, like, you know, sometimes we report back in some committees, some are not, so it's like, at one committee, you're doing one thing, and then another committee, you're doing something else, like, different tasks.
So I've got Substance Abuse Task Force, Bold, Opioid Task Force, Provider to Provider, and Recover Fall River.
think there's
I
another
mean, that's, 5's enough, but.
there's another small subgroup of substance exposed newborns too.
And then there's the Chenal group,
one
which is
choice.
a regional.
Substance exposed newborns? Oh, that's an offshoot of,
Yeah, I'm on that.
the Chenal one is the Fall River task force, the, St. Anne's
Substance abuse task.
Substance Abuse Task Force.
Yeah, it's out of partner.
That's the one that Stephanie and Rachel,
Oh,
and Stephanie and Rachel expressed to me too, that's kind of losing, that's kind of changing, because they're being pulled in onto other groups.
So you just said the Chenal one is the substance use task for 2 people.
What's the hospital one?
Well, Stephanie is chair, she's co-chair of, in the hospital, in St. Anne's, we have SUD, Substance Use Disorder.
No, I mean the
Work
other
group.
one, that was Rachel and Stephanie?
Rachel and Stephanie are
Task force.
task force.
Okay.
But then within the hospital, we actually have a whole group that get together once a month, all the clinical people, yeah.
But my question would be, are there too many groups if they're focused on different things, or have we got too many of the same people at all of the groups versus having the, getting the right people at the right meetings and then having it all reported back into a centralized location?
Noreen can't sit down, she's about to stand.
Yeah, no, so what I saw in Somerville and other communities I've worked in is what I think, and I am trying to help Mike with this kind of behind the scenes on some of on the prevention grants, but what happens is the funders come out with an RFP that require A, B, and C, and we respond to the RFP because we really need the money. We're a poor community. Somerville was also a poor community. Not as poor now, it's more gentrified. But, so we're always, it's like top down rather than, I liked your slide here about having the vision, the community having the vision and the values first. And, when an RFP is released, like, does the health director and the STAR executive director and somebody at the hospital have like a quick strategic discussion about who's going to go for that, or do we go for it at all? I feel like the vision, the values, that collective impact, those steps. If Fall River was doing each of those steps to some degree a little better than we're doing it now, I feel like we would be overall in more coordinated and have more impact around things rather than everyone kind of, and this is where the funding forces us to these places too. It's not easy, but it's long-term work, and it starts with shared leadership, like collective leadership among really respected people who know what's going on, rather than just responding to everything. And then there has to be a new group for that grant, and there's a new group for the next grant, and on and on. So it's not easy to break that cycle, but
Well, and the thing about it too is this, people in the state realize this is happening, and yet they're still doing it. I mean, they can't, because in fact, they get the silo from the feds. So they've applied for a grant that the feds say has to go for this specific target. And it doesn't connect. I mean, we listed off these various different target groups, and they all vary by target group, but you're all, same people end up.
Right. There's only so many of us that are interested in this issue in the community.
Right.
And we can't, and so then people feel slighted that we're not at that table and we're at this table.
So this should be fixed, this problem can be fixed right now, if you wanted to. So what could you do?
Might it be fixed by designating certain tasks to some of these groups and having one of these meetings be the coordinator of those groups, the other groups?
So, say it again.
Okay, so,
In a different way.
Okay, so we have our mission.
Yeah.
We're a community coalition. We're really trying to engage the public, Joe Schmo, and the provider toward these 3 goals. I share those goals because I with many of the people at this table. But we work on pretty much three specific projects at a time. could we meet our meeting? Not everyone has to go to our meeting, only my group goes to our meeting. And then we have one coordination meeting where I report in, this is what we did this month.
That's,
Oh, people are pointing at me, but
Because I feel
my
like you're.
position
Oh,
in
yeah.
the city was not approved, if we recall, as a substance
Coordinator,
coordinator
you're
for
right.
the city. So I'm really bound by the confines of the
You
two
are.
grants that I had to work at. The things that I do, I'm going above and beyond
You are.
what I'm supposed to do. And I'm not saying that I shouldn't be a point person. I think the city should have a point person. Absolutely, positively, 100%. And if politics being as what they are, if they weren't there, it's not about, Mike Aguiar being that point person, but it is about that position. It's not about the person.
Could the city's Department of Health maybe provide that?
You are talking to the health department.
I know I am. Yes, Dr. Vivi, no. I know I
No,
am.
I'm saying, every letter that comes out with my name was written and typed by me. We are dealing with, in the city of Fall River, over many years of budget cutting with an infrastructure deficit. This is a problem, but if it weren't for a lot of different groups in the city, we would not be attacking this comprehensively. But again, it goes back to the same thing. I've got 7 departments under me that I'm constantly monitoring, and it goes again, to infrastructure, manpower, and the only reason I think Fall River, in spite of all the challenges, is doing such an amazing job. And when you look at us nationally, you go to national conferences and hear of, quote, out-of-the-box things communities are doing. Connie was there, a number of other people. It's like, we're doing that. We've been doing that already. So we're kind of ahead of the curve. The only reason that's happening is because of what's around this table already. Our strong history of collaboration, working together, no one agency saying, I'm going to take credit. It's like, what can we do collectively?
That's the way it used to be.
And that's,
I don't see that as much these days. And that's one of the things that I had talked to Dick about over the phone prior to this, was a lot of the infighting that happens around funding in the community, and mostly grassroots organizations. When I first came here from New Bedford, the reason I stayed here was because of the people that worked so well together. Everyone, I was amazed at the community and all the agencies that worked well together. There was no fighting over funding, and it was exactly what you said earlier, who's best to go for this grant, and who's best to go for this one. And it was just a good flowing group that met constantly, and Dave Weed was one of the first people I worked with here.
that met constantly.
That
You
met
can't,
constantly.
because you can't do it without some of that occurring.
But then the funding started drying up, money started drying up, and people kind of went into their little funding silos, if you will. And back then, also, when money came down, it was like, we have this amount of money to do something with this group of people. What is best for your community? Well, they don't do that anymore. They tell us what we're going to do.
Who's that?
And this funding sources, BSAS in particular in my case, they say this is what you're going to do, and this is how you're going to do it, and you want to do it or not. And that's really it. Yeah,
Right.
we don't have like a lot of discretion into, like Noreen was saying, the strategies that we think may be effective in our city in particular. Like we're doing the police outreach. I think that's a great strategy. And the monthly meetings, the monthly drop-in that Recover Fall River has actually put together, and I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to continue working with them. We have, there's documented numbers. So we got 3 people into treatment that day through staff.
Inpatient, we got
Inpatient.
27
That's
people
through
in
having
treatment
Paull
that day.
there and working together. 30 people came through the door, parents of loved ones and so forth and so on. That's not part of my job. That's not what I'm funded to do. And that's a great strategy though, but that's not an approved strategy through the funding sources. So we are confined to what they think is effective.
Let me push back just a little bit, if you'll let
I
me.
had 3 pastries, so 2 coffees and an energy drink. So you're gonna have to reel me in at some point.
So I'm going to differentiate between that's not my job, that's not what I'm paid to do. And who would push back if you were leading a group like that from BSAS and just doing that as part of your regular work? They wouldn't. I mean, you're posting your hours to the projects, yes, or however you record your time, but they're not gonna push back because they know the problem too, so.
But playing partial devil's advocate.
Yeah, keep going, yeah.
There is a certain accountability we have to have for delivering what has been stated in the grant.
In the grant, yeah,
So
I agree
there
with
is a
that.
certain amount of wiggle room or latitude, but something like this could consume a full-time person's ability. And as Nancy will attest, having had innumerable grants, we're held to what are the deliverables, what are the strategies, how have we implemented them?
Yeah.
That's how we judge.
Yeah.
One little
That's
problem
fair.
is the state.
Yeah,
The state in its wisdom, with quotation marks, for a number of the grants coming down in substance abuse prevention, has decided the money should go to municipalities. And by doing that, it precludes very competent, well-proven agencies from even applying, because it insists on funding it through a community, which I've had discussions with BSAS and the state saying, I think that's penny-wise and pound foolish, because in reality, what you're doing is you're kind of not permitting agencies who need the funding. On the other hand, my philosophy has been, since I've been at the helm, I'm not interested in building an empire, a kingdom, or having 50 grants running in my department. If someone else in the community can get that grant and provide the services that the people in the city need, it's happening. And it doesn't have to happen under my umbrella with my fingers on it. And I think we've seen this in Fall River with other agencies we work with where, yes, this grant's available, go for it. Or how can we work it out with you so we can collaborate?
right.
So the other thing, you know, as a service provider for the majority of our funding, we have gone to a widget system. Per person we're paid for. We don't, you know, in the old grants-based economy, I could do many things under it. Now everybody's paid for the number of people they see. So it's very, and the other thing is, we're overwhelmed. And, you know, 555 people last month came to OTC in 30 days. And our staff is small. So we just don't have the time or resources to attend lots of meetings.
Right. So, consolidated meetings. We got, so,
Right back to that.
Yeah, right.
we want to consolidate meetings.
I would
We got
like
this,
to.
we got this list here. People would like to.
I think this is the first going to divvy up the pie of the pieces and the tasks that need to be done.
Or can we bring them into one meeting?
All right,
One
or-
monthly meeting?
What about our meeting with subgroups? Breakouts. I mean, I'm thinking that is just a model, you know.
That's
so
what we're
that-
doing.
That's what we're doing,
But
really.
You're doing it now?
Yeah.
But
those
unfortunately
different
for me,
Well,
I
but-
end up falling into prevention, and I end up falling, so there are
Yeah,
people
some
in here
people
that end
fall
up
into-
fall into,
Right.
you end up
All the
falling into a bucket list of education, public education. You fall
Nancy falls
into-
into all of it.
Yeah, so then you
And I
end
can't
up,
do them all.
so then you end up kind of being, well,
And you can't
even though
do
they're divvied up, now you have 5 meetings instead of 1.
Well, and I can't do them all. I'm in the same boat. And Project Reconnect, where we did the police outreach, I pretty much, I don't know, we discussed it at our meeting yesterday, and Stephanie and Lance are going to hopefully take the lead on that project. So I can do other projects that I'm not,
It's
but
gonna
other
be-
things.
But at some point, there should be a mechanism where they do check into a hire.
Right.
Like, not frequently, not every week, not every other week, but.
So I
I'm
do it
going to be
this
a part
way.
of it, I'm just not, I can't.
Right.
So I do it this way, is a sort of static kind of model with this sort of reporting back in. This could be a kind of model you would use, for instance, if today we broke out into different topical breakouts. You wouldn't all be able to sit in the breakouts, but you'd at least be part of some sort of dialogue. And it all happens Tuesday morning or Tuesday night or whatever the time frames are for these meetings. So that's one option, just or structurally. Another option is that all these meetings, meet and they report into, and then they go back out and they meet again. Sort of along lines of what you were saying, and then they're going to report back into somewhere along the line. Some sort of time, think of it like a timeline, where at least you've got these activities coming back. That's the sort of example of the projects in the center of the room. But it's another level. It ends up adding, it may end up adding another meeting. Get a baseline of 911 opiate-related calls.
Or the delay
Or the lack of,
the delay
I mean, how would
response.
you find
Well,
the
no, you
delayed
start with what it is
response?
now, and then you sort of track,
I could
if
probably
you
tell
do
you,
something about it, you track what it is.
the number one cause of opiate death in Fall River is not fentanyl. It's the fact that they don't call 911. It's the fact that they're either shooting up
Is
alone,
that
or
something you
family
can
members
present
don't call
data
911.
on? I guess is what he's
We
asking.
can start to track it. I'll have my guys start tracking
Can
it.
we?
But I'm telling you, either they're shooting up alone, or they're shooting up with somebody who's in fear of getting in trouble, or they're with family members who are unaware that their child is doing drugs and they don't call 911, the ostrich, right? So, I mean, this is one thing that's so simple to get the message out that'll decrease opiate deaths in the city.
I
There's
love
no
it.
doubt in my mind.
And that's the goal.
That's the kind of thing I was
deaths
talking
more so
about,
than
with those
overdose.
simple things, those simple steps. Everybody understands what this means. Sort of, if we can all work together on it, let's see if we can track it. So that-
Right, there are so many sprockets of the heat. Which ones? Something like this, okay, now we've got something concrete. So Beth's got a problem. Part of the solution
no,
is
I'm
getting the word out, call 911, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now what can be done? We've got the newspaper here, any
We all have
organization,
websites.
any organization
Yeah,
that has
the
like
hospital,
websites,
yeah,
or just good
schools.
media, we've got the hospital, the schools, so, this is kind of how something like this could work.
I talked to
Gets
Connie from
together
Stepping Stone.
Once a month to say,
Yeah.
you can't send out your troops and do 100 battles. You've got to pick one or two at a time to really mobilize the troops. And if this is one of the things the group agrees upon, everyone's here, who's going to take what aspect of it to kind of help get that done? Okay, what's number two of the challenge that the people here today want to attack? Because you're not going to be able to cover those 35 odd challenges plus or minus.
I think you can, Doc.
When you high
Not-
level this,
not-
okay, so the high level solution here is, but there's, all right, but there's some specific buckets. So you're saying, let's take current users and keep them alive and get them into recovery. That's a bucket, right? There's another bucket to prevent future users. That's a bucket. So we take that top level, and then you get into the how might we in each of those. Like you said, you go to that meeting.
Our goal is to have a drug-free Fall River, isn't it?
Right,
Yes.
drug-free Fall River. They're giving out, I was talking to Connie from Stepping Stone, they're giving out those bleach kits. Another story, whatever they are, another story for another day. But I said to her, maybe when you're giving out those bleach kits, maybe you need to start getting out the message that A, you shouldn't be doing it alone, and B, if you know somebody, because everybody who's doing it knows somebody who's doing it. Call 911 if somebody goes down.
That's not a part of that bleach kit.
Doesn't matter, it should be a message.
When you
Yeah,
get
sure,
involved.
sure it can be.
No, it's not, though. I thought it was. I thought there was like a little card in there, no?
I don't know.
But I told her, put a sticker, call 911. I mean, these are the people that we have to target. And yes, I get, our opiate overdoses went up in Fall River 20%. Our deaths went up 20%. So the goal here is to keep people, yes, drug-free is the optimal goal. Is it a realistic? Yes, we'd like to say it's a realistic goal. But my goal as a paramedic is to make sure that somebody's mother, brother, son survives to maybe get into treatment. And that's my goal.
Yeah,
We're going to agree to one prevention project, and the 911 project, or some other variation. We got half an hour to decide what those might
How are
be,
you?
that would that would be the projects that we put in the center of the room and report on and give specific feedback about. That we're not building a Waffle House again. We know we've got a 911 issue and we're coming in to just deal with 911, I think, to her point. What's the topic? Well, the topic's gonna be 911 this time. Is that doable?
I think it's, like, to me, it's doable, but there's a lot of other stuff going on besides that.
Yeah, I think we all
So it
keep
ends
working.
up adding on.
Right, it's giving us another one to do.
So in my meetings, in my Recover Forward meetings, which really public participation is really important, and we've also had a lot of providers who come regularly. So our mission statement is threefold. One is regarding stigma, and the other two is regarding improving access to services and addressing quality issues with services. So our agenda has an anti-stigma project, which the next one will be the overdose awareness vigil. The next item will have to do with an access issue. So we'll have an ongoing dialogue on including brainstorming sessions, solving an access issue, and then we also collect a lot of data and surveys regarding quality of services. So then we'll have a third segment of the meeting that actually does that and takes an action step. So we pack it all into one meeting. Yeah, we could easily put that on our agenda.
Your access issue?
Access.
Like solve and give a place for and give a location for this idea.
Stephanie, would I be wrong in saying that the substance abuse task force that is under the CHNA, would that make sense to just meld that into Mike's group and have that be one group? Or is the substance abuse task force working on something separate that's, because you said it's kind of losing its focus, or?
So we're trying to make it more of a working group, and you know how it is the same people who want to do the work. One of the goals that we've discussed with moving forward is strengthening the recovery community. And that was the first discussion we had, and then now we're going to take some action steps. But we haven't met. We're meeting next Wednesday. But I mean, I don't know, because the CHNA is funding the substance abuse task force, so would the funding follow the group? You know what I mean? Like, I don't.
Like funding it, but I
So
mean,
what
I'm
is
just.
strengthening the recovery?
So recovery,
Yeah.
so peer-to-peer recovery project, I think it's a huge piece. When you look at the continuum of care, the one big piece that's missing is that recovery piece. And in that recovery project, there's all different pathways. So that person doesn't have to be straight right out of detox or a step-down unit. They can be on the street where they're just trying to grasp. They could have had clean time and recently had an overdose, and then be connected to a recovery coach and pulled back on track. And now that we have this grant in the city, there's only 10 that was awarded in the state, I think it's a great thing that we have to really educate everybody that they're there. And they're available, and they're able to come to the hospital, they're able to bring people to treatment, they're able to take them to a meeting. So, and until this past 6 months, it really wasn't a discussion on the table. So we really want to work to push that forward in whatever way that is. You know?
One piece of that, one of the ideas that sort of came up in the sort of prevention framework of getting people in recovery to come to schools, to come to sort of, and be messengers and be communicators.
Well, that's what I said, and she said that she's doing something similar to that. I don't know where she
Who
gets
said
it.
she?
She's gone.
But yeah, absolutely, it could be. But so as a substance abuse, I
Trying
mean,
to find
I don't know,
homes
it's not for
somebody
me to
who's up there.
decide if that group can roll into that, I don't know.
Well, not so much roll in, but
it's
just
a
combine your
discussion.
meetings.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying, because you're saying people are going to that meeting, they're going to my, I'm just thinking of consolidating meetings.
I think to get the message to the greater good, yes, but I think that the substance use task force is not a doing group, and we are. So I'm not sure, I don't know. I don't know if they want to be part of a group that's action-based and doing things. I don't know, it's not for me to decide.
Truth came out, why are you meeting? You want to talk?
No, we're sharing.
I think that was just a bad choice of words.
When I took on this group, it was not an action group. It was a meeting
It
where
was a
you just,
networking group.
it was a network.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. And I think
That's
it's
a
been,
good way to put
that's a
it.
very good, so I think it's been very difficult
So that-
to change that model to get people engaged in the actual
You don't
work.
want to meet for the sake of meeting.
But you're doing, but what all I'm saying is what to Nancy's point that, so basically it's the same people that are going for that Wednesday meeting, the third Wednesday of the month, who are really, could be or should be at Mike's meeting too, right?
Possibly.
I'm
And
just,
so why aren't they combined?
why not just combine
And you
them?
can have an agenda,
Yeah.
but to have essentially the same thing happening with the same people, 2 different days.
Doesn't make sense.
Or three.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
It's not all the same people.
Not the same.
Well,
all
so we
of
could
them.
bring them together because,
But add them.
yeah, right,
Add them.
bring them
them.
together.
I'm just saying, I'm just suggesting that as a way,
And
one
I'm
less
not
meeting
opposed
for
to
you.
I think you could go back to.
Not right away.
Not right away.
No, because you gotta,
Give it a good try. Do it, what is it? Do it like
And have it
3,
fail
you
and
know,
not work. It's try it.
3 to 6 months.
right, the how might we get to where we need to be.
Now, which group do you go to?
I go to the bold group
And that is,
at Star. And it's just because it's the first one I got connected to.
I'm happy to fold into any other group.
So, but can I back up for a minute?
Yeah.
So we said about the goals, so we want to walk out of here with something, right, in the next 22 minutes. And we know we want a drug-free Fall River,
Right.
but are there like 3 prongs that looks like? So, such as keep current users alive, get them into recovery, and prevent future users? Isn't that what everybody's doing?
Yes.
So if those,
Pause.
Yeah, that's great.
okay, current users in recovery, current users effective recovery programs,
Effective,
recovery programs,
okay.
and prevent future users. Stop.
I think getting rid of the stigma around drug use is important as well.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and you have some,
Let me ask for some disagreement around that. What, is there anybody that would agree with that?
I feel like stigma is an element of,
all of them?
All of this.
Yeah.
It negatively impacts all these things.
All of that.
Yeah, I think it affects all of it, but at the same time, it's something that should be focused on as well because it affects all of them.
Okay.
Right, so, but each of the one, everybody who's working up towards, so not every person can be working up towards all of those.
It's like no one goes to church all the same week, so
Is this
you'll
room
have
gonna
different,
be
you'll have enough
available
room.
once a month?
This room can be made available once a month. You may have to move tables when you get here. I don't know that I'll feed you every time.
Is that coming up? How big is where you meet with Mike?
It's not big enough. The substance use task force, the one great thing is we do have good attendance. They show up every month.
But they just sit
Where?
and talk.
We meet at Charlton. And it is a big room. We could keep it
Yeah,
there.
the parking's just as bad at
Yeah,
Charlton
parking
as
is
it is
bad.
in Government
Yeah, you
Center.
might just, yeah.
Yeah.
If not worse.
Very bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least you can pay for
But
it.
what good is it for just coming to talk?
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just,
Yeah, but
it's
I
not
thought
my
we nailed
church.
them together.
We did.
Yeah,
Who's the chair?
myself and Rachel Davis from Charlton.
So we need to get her on board.
And we've discussed it.
She's not here.
She's not
No,
here.
she couldn't make it today. She did text me this morning.
Yeah.
She would probably be about consolidating meetings, I know she's easier than one on a paper hanger too.
Yeah.
What's that?
I would welcome, I think,
Yeah,
consolidating,
we
because
discussed
she's
it.
busy, very busy.
Did you say one-arm paper?
So maybe out
That's a
of,
long time.
maybe out of this, you, Rachel, myself, and Paula can get together and see if we can hammer something out that's agreeable for
And then
everyone.
maybe
that
break those meetings down into
have a good
working
meeting
groups,
Well,
right?
so let me just,
There's a good meeting room.
No, there really isn't.
Does that make sense?
so
to
I
everybody?
like the way Ronnie framed this. Does this consolidation work in this framework? In this?
386 has the biggest.
Yeah,
Set
I
of
think she
strategies?
said it in a nutshell,
Yeah.
pretty much.
I mean, to me, these are exactly where I was gonna point to in terms of levels of intervention. It's where we're working at in sort of in a parallel theme, but in the youth prevention work in Boston, but we're ending up focusing on relapse prevention, and so some of these same kind of themes tie in.
So really,
We need
the
a multi-pronged approach, but we don't want 6.
So the only person in the room that doesn't work in this field 24/7 comes up with that.
That's why.
It's not an
That's
outside,
right.
private industry,
And
usually.
that for me, because I didn't know the difference between the 3.
I think we're the only ones who like,
Actual work. All right, said
we've
it.
got an agreement that Mike, Paula, Stephanie, and Rachel will get together to agree on this consolidation strategy across their groups.
And then,
We need to then agree on these subtasks or these tasks underneath these. So we talked about 911 and Narcan being potentially, you know, the tasks here. Somebody may disagree with that, you know, sort of, and have another idea that's equally good or better. And so you, as a team, as, you know, that group, whoever's interested in that group needs to get together to say, what's the sort of one core thing we're gonna work on, or two core things we're gonna work on?
Project Reconnect falls under that one also, which is something that is actively doing.
And they have a sub, they already have like a subcommittee.
What is that?
The
So-
Project Reconnect.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Under that.
So then that may be all covered in terms of sort of meeting wise.
That's more like a working group. That's specifically, you know, one project, you know, one thing.
But we're keeping,
Keeping it
Under
under
that
that category.
Yes.
So we gotta define the project, right? We gotta define the interventions that you're gonna try to implement. Gotta define the project, define the interventions you're gonna implement, and identify measures that will tell us whether or not you're succeeding. And then the report back gets built off of that, right?
and then I just wanted to like be clear, so like Stephanie, even though she's going to this consolidated meeting, she and Rachel still have some reportability back to the Chenal on what they're doing in their bigger working group.
They gotta keep that stuff.
Keep the information
They gotta
flowing
keep that
back. It doesn't
stuff
matter if
going
they
on.
meet on Wednesday or they meet on Monday, if they meet in Mike's office or in Charlton, they're doing the work and they're reporting back.
and can I say, when the group of you get together and come up with, okay, this is how it's happening, then can we get it in writing? I'm a very visual, so like, this is what's happening, these are the days that these groups meet, these groups are responsible for these types of things. Because I found bold first, okay? And realistically, I've got like one opportunity, and I'm not sure as a business community member what the best thing is. You know, one of my goals that I just haven't got to is having a list of all of the resources and having it all mapped out, so I've got it for my employees, and then I can share it with other business community members, and then, but where should we all be coming to?
So to write it down, so we get people together to agree on a consolidation, agree on the goals, tasks, and measures in each, and then that needs to be written down. And there's some of that connector activity in doing it. Strategic plan, it's a, you know, strategic direction, and you've got activities that you've all agreed to move on. It's a collective action. And that's exciting, because that, then people will want a copy, if you can really make this alive.
Well, and thank you
Did
so
we
much
make any
for,
progress?
yeah, I
Was this
feel,
worthwhile getting together? This wasn't one of those meetings where nothing
A
got done.
networking meeting? Networking? I love it.
thanks
We
for
just talk, we don't do anything.
getting this together with us.
I didn't say we didn't do anything.
Didn't you say you were retiring at the end
Yeah,
of next
really.
April? So weekly shows, yeah, that's.
Well, it may be,
So-
January 8th of next
So
year.
the other piece is, somebody's gotta come up and
Celebration
start
Day.
performing these functions. Somebody or some group of somebodies have gotta be doing this connector activity. Have
Well, I
gotta-
think we're talking at the, I think that's
The
the,
Mike Paull.
right, that's,
So when are we gonna meet for that?
I don't know, let's talk about it.
Why don't you meet, have a setup for next
Can we get-
Thursday? Next
What?
Thursday?
We'll take care of this, Tracy.
No, next Thursday we
We'll
have.
take care of it, Tracy. She's always pointing at me.
always pointing at you.
She is.
So I will get these notes written up, and feed them back with some editing that should sort of
Get together.
streamline, but you've got your tasks. And I think this could be very exciting, and it's up to you to commit to, together, collectively, making this work, and making this work in, there's a lot of energy, a lot of smart people sort of around the room that can contribute in big ways to making this have a big impact. So, thank you for the time together. It's really nice to meet all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody get copies of